Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Malone's Record Service Evan Monroe Show, presented by Critters Corner, where we cover everything on the range with the West Greene Buffaloes football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Evan Monroe. Coach, how we doing this week?
Doing good, man. A lot better than it was Friday night.
We'll get into that in just a minute, but yeah, I'm sure you were. That was probably a nerve-wracking situation early into the game, but the good news for you is we get to sit down for this interview, and you get to sit here and say you're 1-0.
Absolutely.
You're 1-0 on the season. You're undefeated going into week 2 now. Got a matchup with Cloudland again here at home. Or at home. It'll be your home opener. So
yes.
I know you're excited about that. It'll be a Thursday night game. We'll talk about that a little bit in the second half also. But let's talk about that North Greene game and jump right into it. A 32-16 win in, I guess, is it technically week 0 of the season? I don't know the week 0, week 1 stuff that they started recently. But I'm going to say week 1 just for my own sake of not messing things up. So week 1, you get a 32-16 win over North Greene. Wasn't easy, wasn't pretty, but at the end of the day, like I said, you get to sit here and say you're 1-0. Talk to me about that win.
You know, if it could go wrong, it did go wrong that first half, the first quarter. You know, we give up the huge kick return. We have a big play on first down. We get into the red zone. Second play of the game, we fumble, and they lose it. We give up another score, another fumble. I think we had 3 carries and 2 fumbles at one point, and I think we ended up with 4 carries and 3 fumbles. So I was like, you know, if it could go wrong, it did go wrong. So, you know, I was proud of the way our guys fought back with our backs kind of pinned up against the wall. Once we settled in and started playing like I knew we could, and I kind of challenged those offensive linemen, hey, let's come out and let's pound the rock. Let's get after their hind ends a little bit and let's play. We started kind of controlling the line of scrimmage a little better. Backs, when we finally started hanging on the ball, we started getting those chunk plays and being able to move the ball well.
And you look at it too, I mean, you've got some stats in this game that I'm sure you don't like to hear, but you've got some that you do like to hear. I know 8 combined turnovers between both teams. That's a very sloppy game, but at the end of the day, 330 rushing yards. That's something to be proud of, because a lot of teams are happy to get 300 total yards in general, but to get 300 on the ground where you want to establish the run in the game of football, that's exactly what you did. 330, I know 190 of those came from Austin Franklin on 18 carries, and he had 2 touchdowns. I know Skylar also had 75, and then Dylan Teston also had 50, and then I think Braden McCamey also had 10. So that accounted for most, if not all, of your rushing yards. A great night on the ground in the trenches. I know your O-line was a big part of that also, because you can't go anywhere in the run game without the O-line.
No. You know, that offensive line group has played a lot of football. 4 of the 5 are juniors. We have 1 senior, and we kind of go our heavy set. We bring a sophomore in. So knowing we've got those guys for another year, man, it's exciting. They love run blocking. We told them if we rush for, I think Hahn made the deal with them, if it was 250 or 275 on the ground, he'd take them to Dairy Queen and get them some ice cream. So tomorrow after practice, the big boys get to go to Dairy Queen and get them some ice cream.
I was asking if that had happened yet, because they passed that mark for sure.
Oh, yeah. You know, in a game where you want to control the clock, shorten the game, limit North Greene's explosive offense, being able to pound the rock and pound it and pound it and pound it, knowing they know what's coming, and to still be able to do it, and they don't really have an answer for it. It's kind of nice as a coach to know that you've got that and you can just wear on people with it. You know, Franklin's a dynamic playmaker. You know, he had, I think, what'd you say, 190 rushing?
190, yeah.
So he's averaging over 10 yards a carry. He had a kick return and a punt return. I think he had 53 yards total there. So he had almost 250 yards all-purpose by himself Friday night. When you got a playmaker like that, it's pretty easy to call plays.
I'd say so.
Then you throw Skylar in there, who's kind of our power back, where he's got big, strong legs, and he's just going to pound it and pound it and pound it and pound it. And then Frankie pulls one, sneaks out the back door with it. You know, they start flowing, and then he pulls one and keeps it and rolls the other way. Makes things easy, man. It makes things real easy. So, you know, Teston comes in. He's normally that H-back spot, but we'll get him a few more carries because, man, when he when he run it, man, he run it well. So I liked what I seen from our skill guys, but I really liked what I seen from our offensive line. They controlled the line of scrimmage, and that was the challenge to them this week. So I was incredibly proud of that group. Damian Centel was pulling probably 90% of the time, and man, he was just wearing people out. There was one I seen. He took a kid he pulled and kicked the kid out and drove him for about 10, 12 yards and dumped him and kind of flipped over the kid like it was a wrestling move. I was like, man.
Good to have a dog like that on the line.
Yes, and the rest of the line is kind of leaning into that same mindset that Damian has. Dilts, before he got hurt, kind of did the same thing. He took a kid on a kick-out block and drove him plumb to the sideline and dumped him. McCamey pinned guys down all night. They couldn't fight back across him. Payne did a great job. Fortner did a great job snapping. I don't think we had but one bad snap all game, and it really wasn't even a bad snap. It was just a little low. But, I mean, man, that offensive line group, man, I'm incredibly proud of them. Can't forget throwing Tucker in the mess. He did a great job Friday night. Blake Hensley, when Dilts went down, Blake stepped up as a sophomore, come in and filled in a role. We went kind of that heavy set with an extra lineman. Isaiah Roberts was in there, did a great job. Those big boys up front don't usually get enough love. So I like
to give them some love this game.
Yeah, I love the group of guys, and they come to work, get no recognition for what they do. But man, we wouldn't have won that game if they don't go in and dominate the line of scrimmage.
Since his name was brought up too, I'm glad to hear that Zach Dilts is doing better now. Of course,
yes.
A scary situation on the field. It's something I spoke about Saturday morning. When you see an ambulance be brought out onto a field, it's always a scary situation.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody holds their breaths and says a prayer, and it's good to see a player like that end up recovering that quick too.
Yeah, what we think ended up happening, he had a CT scan done at the hospital Friday night. No sign of a concussion, nothing.
Good.
I think it was just kind of a stinger. It was friendly fire, actually. Damian come in and trying to clean up a tackle, kind of got his head kind of wedged in there. It was just a bang-bang thing happens. But by the time we got back here and I drove to Johnson City to go see him, he was already getting discharged from the hospital. Funny thing is, the only thing he really cared about was getting a plate of our pregame meal leftovers. He was like, do we have any of that left over? It was macaroni and cheese with ham cubed up in it. And he was like, do we have any pregame meal left? I'm really hungry. So I had to take him a plate of mac and cheese with ham in it to the hospital. So, but he was fine. Got him up there. They did a full check on him, make sure everything was good. He was up walking around in good spirits. He said he was a little sore Saturday and Sunday when I called and checked on him, but he's back. He was back at school today, so he'll be back next week. Had to take a week off just to kind of make sure nothing crazy happens, but I was glad to see him make a quick recovery.
A very quick recovery. It's great to hear that. Now, before I ask this next question, take a deep breath. First 5 minutes of that game.
Oh, my gosh.
I want to know what your thoughts were. I want to go through the game and just hear your thoughts and progression through the game, because I'm sure a lot of West Greene fans thought after that first 5 minutes, oh no. I'm sure they thought a lot worse, but oh no is the G-rated version of what they were thinking.
Sure.
So 2 fumbles, a safety, and a kick return touchdown allowed within the first 5 minutes. When you're standing over there on that sideline, what are you thinking in that moment?
What in the world are we doing? Like, that was the first thought. And then the other thought I had, probably not very family friendly, so I'll keep that thought to myself. We go how I go. If I'm falling apart and throwing mad and cussing and losing my mind, we're all going to act that way. So I had to kind of regain my composure for a minute and say, it's a 1-score game still. It's 8-0. So then when I was upset because backs have got to do a better job taking the handoff, and that's day one stuff. But it was only a 1-score game at that point still. We have played about as terrible as we could have played at that point. And so for us to come back and say, okay, let's settle in, let's play football. We kind of exchange drives there for a minute, and they go and score. We help them out with a boneheaded penalty. and, give them a short field with an extra 15, that's hard to stop. They threw a little go route over the freshman's free safety's head that he kind of sucked up on. You've got a freshman out there, he's going to make mistakes. So, it's you get frustrated as a coach because you're like, man, it should not be like this. Mm-hmm. But that's why you play the game.
That's true.
So, when we're down 16-0, I just looked at our guys and said, guys, there's 3.5 quarters of ball game left. Let's take over this game and let's play like we can. And we all kind of calmed ourselves down, got our composure back, went on a drive and scored. And defense stepped up, played a great. After that first 5 minutes, man, I don't know if our defense gave up a first down that they earned. Now, they earned a couple with penalties and stuff like that, but I don't know if they had a first down with a play that we didn't gift them a first down. So, I was incredibly proud of our defensive effort. But like you said, after that first 5 minutes, man, I don't know if I could have put a blood pressure cuff on because I'd have been darn near stroke level. So, it was one of those things. I was flustered. I was frustrated. But in the back of my head, I'm like, we go how I go. I can't lose my composure or we'll fall all to pieces. So I regained my own composure, got us settled in, and then we started playing our brand of football.
One play that I think changed the momentum of the game that I'm sure you will agree with was the block punt by Isaiah Roberts. That kind of turned things around for you. You block that punt, you go on that scoring drive that you mentioned, get it capped off with a 5-yard rushing touchdown from Austin Franklin. All of a sudden, it's 16-8. Then another game-changing play was Leland Payne's fumble recovery. Because then that set up the game-tying touchdown where Braden McCamey goes in from 1 yard in the Wildcat, and then you get that 2-point conversion. So you get it tied 16-16 right there. You get those 2 huge turnovers. Talk about those turnovers and how crucial they were.
They were punting anyway, but Isaiah, I don't even think he got more than a fingertip on it. I mean, you look on film, he don't look like, but he gets a tip on it. But it was enough to cause the punt not to travel like it was supposed to. That was something we didn't really practice much this week was punt block. But Isaiah just kind of seen that they all went one way and the punter went the other, so he just kind of stepped and got a hand up and put his big paw on it. And luckily Skylar was not the smartest decision, but luckily he held on to it when he jumped up and grabbed it. But, they give us great field position, gives us a chance to go score. I think most of the damage there was done by Franklin with his legs. And then, Payne, they're running the little option back, and he kind of stops Darnell and makes him pitch it. Well, Darnell goes to pitch, and I don't know if the running back wasn't looking or what, or if it was a bad pitch or what, but it just kind of hits the ground. And, Payne, I told him, I said, next time scoop it and score. Then I went back.
Jump on it?
Yeah. Next time, when I went back and watched it on film, there was no way that boy was going to scoop and score it. I love Payne to death, but he had shoulders over toes. He was already leaning forward. I was like, oh, he ain't scooping and scoring that. So, that's a lineman's dream. You get a chance.
Yeah.
There wasn't nothing but a green grass in the end zone in front of him. But he goes, Coach, I'm going to be honest with you. If I did pick it up and scoop and score, I wasn't scoring. I said, that running back's going to chase me down. He said, I didn't have a chance. I said, well, you at least got to try. So, but those guys, Isaiah and Payne, played great defense all night. I was excited for them to make a couple big plays like that. I thought our defensive line did a good job all night long. Isaiah, Payne, Fortner, Diltz, Blake Hensley coming in, giving us a spell here and there. Those guys played their butts off and did a great job for us all night. So I was very pleased with their effort. And, I always love seeing big boys make plays.
Always.
I always love it.
It's fun. It's fun for anybody.
I love seeing the big boys make plays, man. It's a big boy, former big boy myself. Anytime big boys make plays, it gets me a little excited for them.
You tied the game 16-16 there, and then you take the lead off of another rushing touchdown by Austin Franklin. That one was 12 yards out. 24-16, you led for the first time with 10:36 left in the fourth after being tied the entire third, and then Dylan gets that touchdown to ice it to put it 32-16, which was the final score. How much of a relief was to step off that field after the fourth quarter, knowing that you got the win after such a rocky start?
You know, my wife was there Friday night, and she said once we got that last touchdown, she was watching, and she said you could see yourself just – she said you could see the stress just fall off.
Starting to loosen up a little bit. You weren't as tight.
She said you could literally see when you took a breath, the stress just fell off of you. You know, that was a great ball game. North Greene played a heck of a ball game. Had me nervous the whole time. But, you know, for us to come out and execute and do our game plan, man, I just can't say enough about our guys and how resilient you are when you kind of come out and get punched in the mouth, and if it can't go wrong, it did go wrong. For us to settle in and say, all right, we still got a lot of ball game to play. Let's go play. It says a lot about our maturity and our mentality. This is a great group of young guys to be around. I love coaching these guys. So, you know, it's one of those things like once that clock hit 0 and I could breathe, I was like, oh, hallelujah, that's over. You know, between the stress of the game, Dilt's getting injured, that always weighs on you as a coach when you have a kid get something like that crazy happens. But I was incredibly thankful that he turned out okay. You get the win, come back to Malsheim with a win, 1-0.
And now you get to come back to Malsheim looking to go 2-0.
Absolutely.
On Thursday night. You've got Cloudland coming up. I'll save that to the second half, actually, before I say that. But we'll go ahead and get into a break first before we preview that game next. So that was a North Greene recap. We'll get the Cloudland preview on the next half right after these messages here on Grassroots Media.
For more than 30 years, Tommy's Plumbing has served customers in East Tennessee with licensed and professional plumbing services. From installing your new faucet to replacing your existing piping system, our team at Tommy's Plumbing is trained to handle the job with professionalism, attention to detail, and integrity. By offering warranties on most products installed by our technicians, Tommy's Plumbing stands behind our work, ensuring that your plumbing needs are not only met, but that your problem is solved for the long term. When you need reliable and professional plumbing service, Tommy's is the only call to make. So give us a call today and let us show you the Tommy's difference.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Malone Record Service Evan Monroe Show, presented by Critters Corner, where we cover everything on the range with the West Greene Buffaloes football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Evan Monroe. So you've got Cloudland coming up on Thursday. Yep. Be your first home game of the season. That'll be our Corner Pond Friday Night Lights presented by McAfee and McAfee PLLC and Tommy's Plumbing Game of the Week. That's a mouthful, but we'll be here. The game will be broadcasted on Facebook as usual, so if you can't make it out to the game on Thursday night, then you can catch it on our Grassroots Media Facebook page, but we will be broadcasting that game. You've got Cloudland coming in here to the range. What do you expect when you see the Highlanders on Thursday?
Well, first of all, I'm impressed you rattled that off and didn't stutter or slip at
I almost did once I got to McAfee and McAfee PLLC. That's tough. Say that real quick one time.
McAfee PLLC.
It's tough.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. Mm-hmm. But, you know, when Cloudland rolls in town, you know what to expect. They're going to sell out to stop the run. They're going to load the box. It's going to be 22 dudes in a phone booth, and it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. They're physical. They play hard. They play hard for 4 quarters. Even if they get down big, they're going to line it down, and they're going to beat the far out of you. That's who they are as a football team. That's their identity. It's been that way for a long time. You know, they still like the 2 tight end, 2 fullback, power eye set, where it's like, we're going to run right here, and you're either going to stop it or you're not. And, you know, this year I have seen against Happy Valley, they did go into some more of a spread set with a couple 2x2 sets, 2 receivers on each side, a couple trip sets. Something new they did this year was the power T set, where they've got 2 tight ends, quarterback, and then 3 running backs kind of in a straight line behind. Very old school style offense, but it's kind of coming back in style because no one really knows how to stop it. So, I expect some wrinkles off of that. You don't show your whole hand on week 1. So, I expect them to show some different looks at us, but deep down inside, I know Coach up there, he wants to line it down, run at you, and make you like it. Got a couple pretty good athletes, got a couple pretty good linemen. Not a ton of kids, but that's Cloudland. That's single A football. So, it's one of those things. It may be a survival game. As hard as it's going to be, can we outlast them? Hopefully it's not, because that's how I felt Friday night.
Yeah.
But, hopefully we come in, we take care of business, and still I'd like to have another trip for Han to have to go take the lineman to Dairy Queen. So, but Cloudland, man, they're just a physical downhill group. They got a couple backs that got some speed to them, some downhill running, some tough kids. So, you know what you get when you go to Cloudland. You know what they're going to bring with them. So
last year was quite an odd game.
Oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about last year.
I forget about that. I don't forget about that, but whenever I think of Cloudland West Greene, I think that game will always stick out in my mind because of how odd that game was.
I think there was 12 fumbles combined between the two of us.
Scoreboard stopped working.
Scoreboard, oh my gosh. If we have another crazy season like last season, you may find me in the loony bin somewhere.
That was the craziest week of high school football I've ever experienced. You had that game. You had Greenville and Dobbins Bennett tied in the third quarter. North Greene's win against Castlewood happened because the game was canceled in the third quarter. You had, I think, pretty much a flawless game with Chucky Doak. I don't know if they had any hiccups.
I can't remember.
But
there was somebody else that got canceled for lightning delay.
Yeah, it was just quite an odd week of football last year during week 2 because of the weather and a lot of other extraordinary situations.
Yeah. I'm hoping week 2 this year's a little smoother for us because, we had that 45-minute break last week in the middle of the third quarter.
Yeah.
I'd rather not have another break in the middle of the third quarter again like we did last year at Cloudland. Because my guys were just kind of standing around like, what do we do, Coach? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. We'll stand here and look at each other.
Might want to make sure the scoreboard works a few times on Friday before the game starts.
Just
to make sure.
Luckily we've done some 2-minute drills. We've had a couple middle school games here, so the scoreboard, knock on wood, has worked. So hopefully Friday night rolls around, we're still good.
All right. If it doesn't work Friday night, you can blame me. I'll take the blame.
I'm 100% blaming you.
I'll take the blame.
Anything crazy happens, it's Nichols' fault.
All right. Talk about the defense that you expect to see when you line up on offense, too. I know you talked about what you expect to see from their offense and a few new changes, but do you kind of expect to see the same thing on defense that you saw last year?
They've kind of went away from the even front. They usually run a 4-4 cover 3.
Okay.
They may even roll a safety down in the box and man up and stack 9 guys in the box and just man up with their corners on the edge. But this year they kind of went to a 50 front where they've got 3 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers walked up. It's almost like a 5-3, almost like a 5-3. And sometimes there was a couple plays against Happy Valley. Safety was in the box and the corner was in the box, and it was man-to-man on the edge. They had 10 guys stuffed in the box. So when I say it's 22 guys in a phone booth,
you mean it literally?
Yeah. I mean, they'll match box with you. They sell out to stop the run. They said if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us through the air. So they bring a lot of pressure from a lot of different directions. But I think if we can get to the edge, I think we've got a chance. Especially Franklin. If Franklin gets to the edge, he's as dynamic of a playmaker as you can have. So I look forward to the Friday night seeing their defense. Like I said, they're going to sell out to stop the run. They're going to. That's who they are. That's Cloudland football. You're going to beat us in the air, but you ain't going to beat us on the ground, or we're going to beat the far out of you. And they do. So They're a physical bunch up there, and Coach Benfield does a great job getting them ready to play.
I'm sure you've answered what the next question is going to be throughout telling me the preview of this game, but I want to hear it just at the end one more time. Going into Cloudland, what are your 3 keys to the game, and what are you going to have to do to come out with a win on Friday night here at home?
God. Take care of the dang football. Holy cow. Got to win the turnover battle. Got to clean up the mental mistakes. Got to clean up the fumbles. That's the big thing. Take care of the football. That's the first thing. No turnovers. Win the turnover battle. That's the key one there. Key 2, limit their playmakers. Have more explosive plays than they do. I mean, Friday night we did that pretty well. Had some more explosive plays than they did, but those explosive plays can really fire your team up and get you rolling. So you limit that for them, and you get more than they do, man. You're rolling. Mm-hmm. And third thing is play with a great effort and great attitude. We do those 3 things, man, we'll be successful.
You got to add that 4th one on there too.
What's that?
Score more points.
Score more points than another team. Forgot about that, man.
I forgot about that last week. We did the
too.
first 3 keys to the game, but we'll have to add that one in each week now. Of course, you got to score more points than the other team. Otherwise, you won't win the game.
That's on Han this year. He's got to score more points than the other team. So
he's not with us this week. One of the rare weeks that he's not out here.
I took over defensive play calling duties, so I'm trying to help him out and try to keep their score a little lower.
Yeah.
But Han's got a big plate to fill. He's got to score more points than they do, and I'll do my part to try to keep the scoring to a minimum. But Han does a great job for us as offense coordinator. He's learning how to call plays and call a game well. It's his first year calling plays last year. This year he's kind of settled into that role a little bit. So if we can score more points, I'll be tickled to death.
We don't have an audience this week.
No.
It feels kind of weird.
It does.
First 2 interviews we had an audience. Han's usually here every week, sitting in that chair right there, but he's not here this week, and we've got 0 people in the room with us. But the good news is, it seems like your audience at home is one of the largest, if not the largest. I didn't check, but I think some point over the weekend you had the most views out of any coach's show.
Man.
So
it's probably all the people from top of Roan Mountain, see what I'm saying?
It could have been. A lot of people from West Greene probably looking out too.
Probably.
Seeing what you were saying.
Probably. Which, we kind of did that one 2 weeks ahead of time. I didn't have a whole lot to say.
Yeah.
I hadn't done any scouting yet, so there wasn't much I could say other than, we better be ready because they're going to play hard. So
hopefully we'll get an audience in here next week.
Hopefully.
It's usually nice having an audience in here watching us. Does it give you a little more pressure seeing people in the room watching you talk? Not at all.
Last year, talking to media, was like, I got a little keyed up and tried to make sure I said the right things. This year, I'm like a well-oiled machine now.
It's a little easier now.
It's a little easier now.
You're a seasoned veteran.
I wouldn't say seasoned or veteran, but I'm getting better at it.
You're used to it now.
Yeah, I'm used to it now. I think I had 3 after the game Friday night. It's like,
wow,
I'm tired of talking to y'all. I want to go celebrate with my team, have a little fun, but that's the obligation as head coach. You got to go talk to people. So
I appreciate you for doing it.
I do it just for you.
Thank you.
Just for you, not Dalton.
Thank you.
I could care less about Dalton, but I'll do it for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if he'll see that part.
You make sure you
I always put a little Easter eggs in here and see if he watches them. Sometimes he'll comment and say that he's watched it. Sometimes I think he just doesn't catch it. So that's why we always leave him little Easter eggs just to see if he catches them. But, Coach, that's all we've got. I know you got practice in just a bit. So
yes, sir.
Go out there and coach them up. That's all we've got this week. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Malone Tractor Service Evan Monroe Show presented by Critters Corner. We look forward to seeing you all next time here on Grassroots Media.
Go Buffs.